welcome all our wonderful guests and all of our speakers and presenters today. My name is Dr. Joseph Strand. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Riverside Community Care, and I am so delighted and honored to be here today hosting our third annual celebration of recovery. Today's theme, it takes a village. It takes a village, it takes a community, it takes each and every one of us to celebrate what is happening today. Because for so long, we have spoken about addiction as if it is the most horrible thing, the stigma of addiction, the moral decrepancy. But let me just explain a little bit about the brain real quick. All drugs and alcohol force your brain to release this ancient neurochemical called dopamine. But dopamine will interfere with another chemical called oxytocin, not OxyContin, oxytocin, the neurohormone of trust, the chemical that's released when somebody says, "You are amazing," and you get that feeling. That's oxytocin. Dopamine interferes with that. So you can get high, but the price you pay is trust. Addiction is not about morality. It is about mortality. It is simply the way the brain works. So it does take a village. It takes each and every one of us to remind people to come out of the shadows because we are here. You are not meant to do this alone. You can have a village, a community around you. So I welcome each and every one of you today. It is my great honor to start off by introducing Alan Meister, the Program Director of Connect to Recovery, the premier program here at Riverside, helping people in their time of need. So Alan, I hand it over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Strand, and welcome to all of those of you who have joined us today. My name is Alan Meister. I am a friend and ally of recovery. I personally practiced recovery principles in my life for more than 30 years. I am also the program director for Connect to Recovery here at Riverside Community Care. Connect to Recovery is a community-based program that supports individuals by connecting them to community resources and providing support and encouragement for their recovery journey. Services we provide include Recovery Support Navigator, Recovery Coach, the Community Support Program, and our newest program, providing specialized services for justice-involved individuals. Our desire is to provide quality peer services to persons served, and we demonstrate this by our commitment to train all of our staff as recovery coaches and to assist them in becoming certified addiction recovery coaches. In addition to this, we are now cross-training staff as certified peer specialists, which is the mental health equivalent of recovery coaching, to have trained peers to address mental health concerns. It's my privilege to be a part of this, the third annual Connect to Recovery recovery celebration. And this year, the theme, as Dr. Joe has told us, is "It Takes a Village." We chose this theme to highlight the reality that a healthy and vibrant recovery is comprised of many supports. It has been said that the opposite of addiction is connection. If this is true, and I believe it to be true, then we help people to connect to the resources that they need to break free from addiction. This larger village of resources include outpatient therapy, psychiatry, medication-assisted treatment, probation, parole, food and housing resources, mutual aid groups like AA and NA, and many, many more. It is the village that supports recovery and helps to empower individuals to move forward with their lives. This concept of the village is illustrated in nature by the morning glory. You see, when morning glory vines grow intertwined around one another, this enables them to be significantly taller than if they grew individually. Furthermore, vines which intertwine around one another present a multicolored beauty. Conversely, when morning glories grow singularly, they do not have the stem strength to attain the freedom and height of those which intertwine around one another. The morning glory presents a wonderful picture of what recovery can be when people connect in relationship and allow the village to strengthen and beautify the results. I could keep on talking about this, but what I would rather do is to share with you a video montage of several individuals who have been helped by Connect to Recovery. Listen to their words as they share about their experiences and take note of the village that helped them to get to where they are now in their recovery. Enjoy the video.
In active addiction, I always thought I didn't deserve help, because I know what I've done. But now that I'm clean and sober, I have a lot of different people helping me get my life back on track. Recovery navigator, recovery coach, sponsor, I go to 12-step meetings, and all of these things combined are helping my life get better, one day at a time.
I've been clean and sober for some time now, and I've found what works for me is a combination of AA and groups and yoga and meditation and time in the woods with my dog Brick. Hasn't been a straight road. There's been hospitals, there's been detoxes, there's been rehabs, there's been psych wards, all that stuff. But the combination of all the groups that I have and the people that I rely on and enjoy talking with, and that just really seems to work for me. My perspective is that everybody's recovery is their very own. Find what works for you.
A little video on my recovery journey and who has been a key person in the successful recovery that I have today. Brianna Lear, I can honestly say, she's been a solid figure in my recovery journey. She was assigned to me through DCF. I use Riverside Community Care for a lot of my services. I also have a recovery coach, and Roland, as you know, as a recovery navigator. I feel that Riverside Community Care as a whole has been a great deal of help in this recovery journey.
Since I've gotten clean and become a part of the program at Riverside, I was able to obtain the resources that they provide and move forward in my life to bettering my living situation, physical situation, job situation. It's helped me stay sober and clean.
I just got out after my fourth bid, my fourth sentence, and this time I wanted to do something different. So my counselor said to try to get in touch with the reentry team at the Department of Correction. I was on the up and up. So I got home, I contacted Lewis. He came to my house immediately, gave me a MBTA pass, asked me if there's anything I need, food, anything, housing, anything, to get in contact with him. And I was stunned because every time I've ever got out, I've always wanted to do things on my own. And then now I have someone asking me if I need help. I never took help. I was always one of those people that were always too proud to ask for help. I strongly suggest that if you are in the Department of Correction, hopefully you ain't, but if you are, to hook up with the reentry team there and do your best to stay in contact with them and do the right thing.
Hi everyone, this is Steve D. I'm a client with Riverside Community Care and have been since March of this year. And in that time, I have been able to reach a few short-term goals as well as lay the groundwork towards a few long-term ones as well. My recovery coach, Jeff G., and my RSN, John P., are two gentlemen that have helped me quite a bit, along with my family, a whole team of doctors and my therapist, and these two gentlemen. I've been able to utilize the supports that have been made available to me. Having all these people on my side supporting me has helped me to become the person that I can be, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much to each of our participants who shared their stories. These are powerful stories, chilling for so many of us. And yet here we are today. Takes a village, this community helping everyone. Not everybody survives this. Later on today, we will have a moment of silence for those we have lost. And I invite each of you to please put the names of those you have lost in the chat so we can remember together and that we can share the loss with each other. So please feel free to begin putting those names in the chat. And then towards the end, we will have a moment of silence. But now I just want to talk a little bit about our next speaker and our introduction with Brianna Bowering, who is a taped introduction today. She is one of our recovery coaches for C2R, but she is at a certified peer specialist training, continuing her journey in this remarkable world that we have and living up to one of my sayings, contribute to society to help with your sobriety. So with that in mind, Brianna has taped this introduction for our next speaker. Erin, let's roll that tape.
I am Brianna Bowering, and I am a recovery coach at Riverside Community Care, as well as a person in long-term recovery. My recovery has always required me to acknowledge that alone I can't, together we can. That I not only need help, but it's absolutely vital that I ask for it. It truly takes a village. That's why I'm so grateful to announce our next speaker. She has been a part of my village for quite a while, and the support that she has given me, as well as the support I've been able to give back, has been without parallel. I've been able to see all of her wildest dreams come true through this process. So with that, I'll turn it over to Katie Haley.
Hi, thank you so much. I know Brianna's not here, but to everybody in the Riverside community for having me here today. That was such a nice introduction because it is very true that Brianna is one of the many people who has helped to lift me up in my recovery, and I'm grateful to have her in my life. So just to start off, my name is Katie and I am an addict. I've been clean for a little bit over 4 years. My clean date is July 10th, 2018. Since that day, I've not found it necessary to use drugs or alcohol. I'm going to give a really quick background just as identification, and then I'm going to go right into this topic because I love the topic of it takes a village. I'm a big believer that the opposite of addiction is connection. And it's fantastic. So just for the purpose of identification, I used drugs and I lost, right? And it's that simple. I started using pretty young. I am the child, the grandchild, and the great-grandchild of addicts. So it definitely runs in my family. My addiction progressed as it often does to the point where I was homeless, jobless, carless, licenseless, and hopeless. Both of my parents passed away in the last year of my addiction, 6 months apart from each other. And they were the two last people that were tethering me to reality, and to the real world. They were my last connections to society. And after they passed, I was just gone, right? I was no longer living in the real world. So I went to treatment with no intention of getting clean. I went to treatment with the intention of getting food and a warm place to sleep. And thank God that that I had a group of people in there that were very caring, very supportive, and encouraged me to just give this a shot, give staying clean a shot, because the drugs will always be waiting for me. They're out there waiting for me right now, right? And I can change my mind at any time, but my life wasn't so great, right? I had matted hair and all of my clothes had burn holes in them and I was just a mess. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a shot, with the encouragement of these fine folks. So I moved from Nashua, New Hampshire, which is where I originally grew up, out to Fall River, Massachusetts. And I found an incredible group of people. Incredible is, for lack of a better word, right? I mean, immediately I walked into the door of a 12-step fellowship and was loved for no reason. I had nothing to offer. I wasn't even that nice. Like, I wasn't even that good of a person, because I was so used to living at these animalistic levels, right? So used to doing whatever I had to do to get the next one, that I was still very almost feral, right? And they approached me as you would a feral animal, with kindness and love and compassion and understanding, and taught me how to live. And I started doing the work that it takes to stay clean, right? Because in my experience. I was not happy, and that's why I chose to use drugs, and then continue to use drugs because my life was a mess. Whereas, basically I wanted to become a better, happier person. Because when I put down the drugs, that didn't just magically make my life better. I had to put in the work. So I did that, but also I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life, like in general. And I was talking to one of my friends and I was saying, like, what do you think I should do? I don't want to be a waitress forever. I want to do more and all this. And I was like, I just don't know what. I'm not good at anything. And she was like, no, I'm sorry. She said, well, what are you good at? I said, the only thing I'm good at and that I like to do is reading. And she said, and I was like, I like to learn. I like to read. I like to learn new things. And she said, well, Katie, if you like learning new things, why don't you go to school to become a researcher? Because all they do is learn new things. And I laughed. I laughed like she told me that I should go to the moon, right? Like, that's for better people. That's for people that are better than me. It's not going to happen for me. Like, that would be wonderful, but it's not for me because I have a criminal record. You know what I mean? I'm a mess. Like, I'm not going to be able to go to school. Especially not to the level of becoming a researcher. That takes like a doctorate. That's insane. But I did decide to enroll in my local community college, Bristol Community College. And I was going to do a certification to become a drug and alcohol counselor. And I was really excited about that because I'm a high school dropout. I ended up getting my GED, but I was just excited to be furthering my education because that was my dream. Even if it was getting a certificate, that's something that I never imagined would be possible for me. So I did that. And my friends often say, only to my surprise and not to theirs, I did very well. I ended up getting all A's that semester and all subsequent semesters. I ended up joining all these honor societies and creating programs and all this stuff. And I was actually named valedictorian in 2020, and not this most recent summer, the summer before. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I also around that same time, I was nominated as one of Glamour Magazine's College Women of the Year by someone at Bristol Community College, and I was also awarded that. And I was in Glamour Magazine last year among these very intelligent, very incredible women, and just like I still, like, right now I am still shocked like, even that these words are coming out of my mouth. I can't believe it, right, that this is really my life. And due to that award, I actually met the First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden. So here's me, a formerly homeless heroin addict with scars on my arms that will never go away because of my addiction, meeting the First Lady of the United States. I mean, it blew my mind. So during my time at Bristol, I was really excited to transfer and see how far I could take this education thing. I'll take as much as they'll give me, right? And I was going to apply to UMass, which I was really excited about because I didn't get into UMass after I got my GED. And I was just so excited to go to college. And one of my advisors said, Katie, maybe just aim a little higher, maybe just a little higher. And so I was like, well, I have time because, we were in the middle of the pandemic. And I applied to several Ivy League schools, some of the other top 10 schools in the country. And out of the 16 schools I applied to, I was accepted to 13 of those, 2 Ivy League schools, several top 10s. And today I am a student at Brown University. Again, I can't believe it myself, right? I mean, I had to check that box that's on many job applications and every college application that says, have you ever been convicted of a crime? I have to check that box and then explain in a new box that pops up why, right? And I was able to explain that, yes, like, I committed crimes due to my active addiction, but everything that I've learned in recovery, I've turned and used in education to show up early, stay late, ask questions, and never feel stupid about a question ever. Do service for others, right? Because not a single one of these achievements that I've told you guys about today did I get alone. every single one of these, I was nominated by someone else believed in me, someone else told me that I should believe in myself more, right? Every single thing, someone else was lifting me up, right? Could never have done this on my own because I tried. And I never was successful until I found my people, until I found my community. I don't know if I have gone over time or if I'm all set with time, but I'm just going to say my life today is, if I had made a list of all the things that I wanted the day that I got clean or the first few days I got clean, I would have been selling myself short. All I wanted was a warm place to sleep and a full fridge and to maybe have a job. My life is beyond my wildest dreams today. I have an incredible mentor in academia who is here today. I have an incredible sponsor and a whole network of people that love me and believe in me. So I will never forget where I come from and who got me here. It was all of you. It was other people in recovery. So thank you so much for letting me share. I'm Katie, I'm an addict.
Thank you, Katie. And yes, we believe in you. We believe in all of you. Remember, we all want the same thing, folks. We all just want to feel valued by somebody else. And we have spent millennia in our world increasing our value by decreasing somebody else's, and then are astonished they do the same. But at any and every moment, you can remind someone of their value. And whenever you remind someone of their value, you increase your own value. You know what's amazing? Respect leads to value, and value leads to trust. And trust is that oxytocin, which we now know can overcome the loop of addiction. So Katie, thank you so much for sharing your story, and not just believing in yourself now, but believing that we together, as a village, as a community, can help those in need. They just have to come out of the shadows. We're here. We're here. I want to now introduce Kim Fisher, our Vice President of Behavioral Health Service. I have known Kim for a long time, have always been impressed by her passion and her absolute drive and desire to help those in need. So Kim, all yours. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Schran, and Katie, great share. Thank you so much. So my name is Kim Fisher, as I said, as Dr. Schran said, and I'm the Vice President of the Behavioral Health Services Division here at Riverside. In 2007, I lost a partner to addiction. To see someone with so much talent and passion and just innate kindness succumb to this disease after struggling really, truly broke me, honestly. But it also fueled a passion and drive to develop systems of care that are different than traditional substance use services. At Riverside, we've taken great care to try to get it right the best we can. The design of the treatment and support services for individuals with substance use and co-occurring mental health. Our mission is really to ensure that all the people we serve in our addiction services are treated with respect and dignity by an interdisciplinary team whose members treat and value each other with the same respect and dignity. Connect to Recover really paved the way for how we formed those treatment teams, valuing the lived experience and peer roles to the utmost degree on the team. And those teams comprise of recovery coaches, navigators, clinicians, nurses, medical assistants, and prescribers, all wrapped around the person that we're serving without hierarchy, with a shared vision for how we support each individual. We have been really ecstatic to have been awarded 2 CBHCs, the Community Behavioral Health Centers, one in Norwood and one in South County, which is Southern Worcester County. And this will really allow us to expand the interdisciplinary team approach we've started with the substance use services and to be much more a part of the village for all of the youth and adults that we serve. I am absolutely delighted to introduce our next guest, our musical guest, Ryan Bevins. Alan and I first met Ryan in 2016 when he was a part of our very first Recovery Coach Academy, which was held at Independence Academy, the recovery high school in Brockton, where he is a music and art instructor. He's an amazing person all around, including his recovery and music. And I will turn it over to Ryan.
Hi, everybody. Everyone hear me okay? All right. My name is Ryan Bevins. I instruct music and art over at Independence Academy, which is a recovery high school for adolescents that are struggling with addiction. We have a great team of people over there. It's run by Ryan Morgan, principal, and we have a really great drug and alcohol counselor, Karen Burke-Lewis. I'd go into the whole team here, but to save a little time, it was really that job that brought me into the recovery field in 2015. My recovery journey started when I was about 28. I'm 43 now. So, and like Brianna said, it was never, a lot of people actually mentioned this. It's never been a straight line for me. It took a long time before I found the tools I needed to live life, as the best version of myself. And I'm still finding those tools, but music, art, photography, all those creative passions for me helped me detach. AA, Smart Recovery, Refuge Recovery, all those were unbelievable. I met some unbelievable people, but Refuge Recovery for me was really what I needed to deal with the anxiety. That meditation part was huge for me, and I did get that in AA too. But I just something about Refuge Recovery for me was really what kind of clicked in my head, and it just said, this is where you belong. But I won't ramble on too long here. I have a video prepared that I just wanted to give you guys the best sound quality possible of the first song I wrote in recovery. This is probably about 28, and kind of a deep song here, but just about coming out of the darkness and into the light. But I'll pass it over to whoever's going to play that video. And thanks so much. And thanks to Kim Allen and Dr. Schran and everybody over at Riverside for having me here. I'm honored. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bevins. I'm a 43-year-old musician, songwriter, photographer, gardener, educator, student. But I'd be none of those things, including probably alive, if it weren't for my recovery. Very grateful for that. I'd love to say that my story, was a complete straight line after I put down alcohol and the medication I was using to deal with the anxiety that took that alcohol to a whole different level and really brought me down to a bottom. But it wasn't. It took me a long time before I found the tools that I needed to be the best version of myself, and I'm still searching for those tools. It takes balance and consistency, but once you find a support group and a routine that works, for me that's music, and like I said, all those hobbies that I had to find to detach from those negative outlets that I was using to cope with life. Music saved my life and really pulled me out of those dark times. But I'm happy to say I'm currently going back to college to be an expressive arts therapist. I'm working at this recovery high school called Independence Academy. For those of you who don't know it, it's a school that specializes in students that are struggling with addiction. This school kind of provides them with not only the academic part, but the support they need, to find some tools to live life without substances, hopefully at some point, whether it be harm reduction, AA, you name it. Everybody's recovery is going to look different. As my friend Michael Kay said, 1,000 people, 1,000 ways, and that phrase saved my life because I needed something different. AA was unbelievable, but I couldn't keep going backwards with my stories. I just didn't want to live in the past, and when I found a Buddhist path to recovery, somewhat of a Buddhist path to recovery, or at least a mindful one, I was able to kind of look forward and live in the present and realize that, my past doesn't define me, but I do have to keep it in the forefront of my mind if I'm going to keep my sobriety. Anytime I think about a drink, which is rare these days, but when I do, the first thing that comes to mind is those really dark days, and that's about the only time I will go backwards, if I'm thinking negative things. Anyway, this is a song I wrote called Living in Sin, and this is probably one of the first songs I wrote in recovery. And it was about coming out of the darkness into the light and feeling like I had found myself for the first time in years. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person. And I think you have to have some kind of hope or faith in something to get through this life. I'm not saying you need to believe in a specific God or any God, but for me that spirituality helped. And that's what this song is about. This is Living in Sin. Walk with the devil and he's bound to take your soul. Give in to your demons, you lose all control. This world will eat you up and spit you out of your letter. Take everything you got and never let you forget it. Believe me when I say there ain't no way to win. The only way you're living life anymore is living life in sin. Believe me when I say there ain't no way to win. The only way you're living anymore is living life in sin. In and out of handcuffs like your favorite pair of shoes. Your name is the only thing you can't seem to lose. Sooner or later, the time is gonna come. You're looking for a friend, can't find a single one. Believe me when I say there ain't no way to win. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan. Comments in the chat, people getting goosebumps, and how true that is. You know, your song is so important because, and what you said in the beginning, we can think about the past, but we also have a future. And the past is about memories. Memories live in the limbic system responsible for irrational behaviors. It's about memories, impulses, pleasure. It's actually where addictions live. But we have developed a new part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain right behind your forehead, about anticipating the future. What will happen next? And that is part of what every person in recovery is also going through. What will happen next if I do this now? So, Ryan, I so appreciate the song, your willingness to be here and to share this. But I will tell you what will happen next. Is right now, what's next is we are going to be talking with Roger Good, one of our recovery coaches for Connect to Recovery. So, Roger, it's all yours.
Thanks, Doctor. Greetings, everybody. I'm Roger Good, recovery coach here at Connect to Recovery. I came to Riverside with the hopes of making a difference in someone's life and help them reimagine their new life beyond addiction. So with pleasure and pride, I introduce you to Matthew.
Word. Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew. I'm an addict. I'm here to talk today, about recovery and specifically, the it takes a village kind of, story of it and everything. I guess, I'll start with a little bit of a preface of my life prior to recovery. I'm still relatively new, compared to the 25 years in addiction I've spent, the 2 years in recovery is still pretty fresh, I guess, but, I started using drugs at a really early age. Maybe in like 4th grade. I started experimenting with opioids, like Percocets and Vicodin and stuff like that. I used to have, I suffered from chronic migraines, and I was seeking to get rid of it. And I was able to obtain those, drugs from my parents' cupboards and, medicine cabinets and whatnot. And frankly, they were my mother. Sadly, I lost, lost her to cancer and addiction. I lost my father to alcoholism. So, there was no one really responsible, in my early life, kind of telling me, not to do those things and whatnot. And I grew up, thinking drug use was normal, thinking it was completely acceptable to use drugs as kind of a tool to deal with my anxiety and my depression and stuff. I self-medicated what I did. My addiction, because maybe it started so early, like it didn't end up getting in the way of my life for a long time, which is probably bad in the long run, really, because I was able to continue this, addictive behavior for, for multiple decades. And, I actually, had great successes in life as an addict. Oddly, I made a good, I did wonderful, at all my jobs. I made a lot of money. I could afford a massive drug addiction and still had a 401k and, could still pay rent, my bills and stuff. And it really, that's not a good thing at all, really, obviously. Finally, I guess, the beginning of the end of my drug use and the beginning of my recovery started a couple years ago with the proliferation of fentanyl on the streets and whatnot. And honestly, I couldn't maintain my functional addict behavior while addicted to fentanyl. I overdosed from it multiple times, and it was the first time in over 20 years of being an opiate addict. I mean, and mind you, I was a cocaine addict and an alcoholic at the same exact time, and in all equal measures too. I would say I did them all, but fentanyl really did me in, and it made it forced me to start looking to alternative options. And one of the I was thankfully I was what was it after one of my overdoses, I was put in contact rather with the Bridge Clinic, and they provided me with a list of phone numbers, one of which was Riverside's. And I happened to call them up, and they were super helpful, and they totally, there was like almost like no waiting time to like get me into the program. Basically, it was like they were like on top of it. And the kind of care I got from them was just unreal. I mean, I had my recovery support navigator, a therapist, a sober coach, Roger Good there is my sober coach. And they had this wonderful early recovery group that I learned so much from. They taught me Riverside. The people there, they taught me healthy coping mechanisms to deal with my anxiety and my depression and mania and all that. And and they were, don't get me wrong, I didn't just like get sober. Like it took a few tries, and a few swings and misses, after I had gotten in contact with Riverside before, sobriety like stuck, if you will. And that was one of the best things about like the community there, was like they didn't like, shame me for, relapsing and, kick me out. Like they were like, oh no, like it's a bummer you relapse, but it was like they like doubled down their efforts to take care of me and look out for me and whatnot. And that was so appreciated. And they kind, it's like, as I worked with them, I became closer, became friend. I consider all the people I work with their friends. And I've been talking with them for over about 2 years now, a little bit under 2 years actually. But it's just been an unbelievable road. I mean, they were with me through some of the worst parts of my life. I mean, being that term dope sick is no joke. And I've been there a few times, and they were were there with me, talking me through it basically, and telling me, reminding me that I could get through it. And I did, and whatnot. I still am. It's like, still one day at a time, for me and whatnot. But I feel so much better, now that I have my whole life basically, and now I even get my my medically assisted therapy through Riverside now, since that, because like actually when I was first with them was like so early in like their program, like they hadn't like quite set it up yet, but like as soon as it was, like I was able to move from like the Bridge Clinic to them, and that was awesome. And it's like, they have been this like one-stop shop for sobriety for me, and I know that I can reach out to any number of them at any time if I'm having an issue, or with anything. I mean, it could be something that's like not necessarily even sobriety related, I could reach out and stuff. But I'll keep it brief. They've helped me just so much, and I'm just so thankful for it. And yeah, well, I'm just happy to be where I am now. So thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. sharing a story and for endorsing so much of what we are doing here at Riverside Community Care. We have started our MAT program, Medication Assisted Treatment Program, and I think it's really important for people to understand that this is medication assisted treatment. The medication is not the treatment. It is all the other people who are there as our village to support those in recovery. You know, it's important to recognize that physicians are responsible in some ways for what happened, as along with the pharmaceutical companies. I don't know if people recognize that in 2006, enough prescription pain medicine was prescribed. If you took all the opioids, the Percocet, the OxyContin and things, and converted them to a medicine called Vicodin, an opioid medicine, enough Vicodin was prescribed so that every single one of the 300 plus million people in the United States could have 5 milligrams of Vicodin every 6 hours for 3 weeks. I mean, it's just an enormous amount of medicine. One way to think about it is Vicodin is about this big, about 4 or 5 centimeters. If you stacked all that Vicodin that was prescribed together, end to end, it would reach from here to the moon and back and 3 times around the earth. That's how much was prescribed. That's part of how the opioid crisis began. The other thing that we know about, remember we spoke about the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex? The limbic system is this irrational part of the brain, but it is running the adolescent brain. We now know that if you start using drugs or alcohol after the age of 21, 1 out of 25 people are at risk for lifelong addiction. But if you start using before the age of 18, that number goes from 1 in 25 to 1 in 4. 1 in 4 brains are at risk for lifelong addiction if they start using any drug or alcohol before the age of 18. Addiction is not about morality. It's about mortality. It's simply the way the brain works. But it is about mortality. And this opioid epidemic has taken many lives. There are so many entries in our chat. With that in mind, I want to turn this over now to Dan Foley, our Assistant Program Director of Connect to Recovery, to lead us into the next part of our journey. Dan?
Thank you, Dr. Strand. Yeah, like Dr. Strand said, I am Dan Foley, and I am the Assistant Program Director of Connect to Recovery. But I wouldn't be in this position if I had not found my village. And by this, I mean that I lived with my substance use and untreated mental health conditions for over 20 years. And now I can proudly say I am a person in recovery. And it definitely takes a village to sustain my recovery. And a big part of my village are the people that I've lost due to substance use over the years. I now try my best to honor each and every one of them every day that I get to live, because they now live vicariously through me. So I'd like to now ask everyone to just take a moment of silence to honor all of those that we have lost to substance use.
That's the silence that so many families now experience every day. The silence of voices they will never hear again, but will always have their memory. We are a village. We are a community. One day, I hope that it will not take courage to seek the care that we can offer. The courage implies this stigma, that it takes courage because we know on some level, if we share our need, we may be seen as less valuable. And we all want the same thing, to simply feel valued by somebody else. Each one of you can help remind others of their value. Dan, Matt, Ryan, Katie, Roger, all who have helped each other. We can do this together, but it really is going to take a village. But we don't have to divide into groups anymore. We are one group, one village, one community. It's called humanity. We have a few minutes left. So if anybody has questions for any of our speakers, certainly welcome all of you, but I have a question for each of our folks. I wonder if you could just say how old you were the first time you used and what you used. You can either put it on in your chat or I can just go around and ask. So I'm going to just go around and ask. Dan, I'm going to start with you. How old were you the first time you used anything and what did you start with?
I couldn't tell you the exact age, Dr. Schramm, but I would say I was in first or second grade and it was marijuana.
First or second grade?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a story there.
There's a lot of stories there, I promise you that.
Roger, how about you?
I'd say 16 years old with marijuana.
Okay. Matthew?
It was fourth grade and it was Vicodin. Oh yeah, right to the opioids.
Wow. Katie?
So my dad gave me my first sip of beer when I was 4, but the first time I got drunk, I was 12.
Yeah. Ryan?
I think the first time, can you hear me okay, Dr. Schramm?
Yep, we can.
Okay. Let me get my video going here. Yeah, about 14. I'm sure I had tasted alcohol before that. But the first time I think I reached for it, possibly, coping subconsciously without realizing it, was a wine cooler at a family party, sneaking them with a friend, and had 2 or 3, but that was the first time I think I felt any relief, well, it felt like relief at the time. Little did I know where that was going to lead. But
right.
About 14.
So I hope our audience, our participants can hear the message here. Young. These are young, vulnerable brains. It's just the way the brain matures. So we have now the potential to do something, but we also have another burden. We have legalized cannabis in Massachusetts. If you're over 21, over 25, no problem. But how many kids now think that because it's legal, it's safe? This week, we're actually celebrating Cannabis Week, I believe it is. There are all sorts of things going on. This isn't a political statement. This is just reality. There are adolescent brains out there that we have an opportunity to educate, not to scare them, but just to teach. Nobody is going to scare anyone out of using drugs or alcohol. If the brain is going to choose between fear and pleasure, it's going to choose pleasure every time. But dopamine and oxytocin interact. The price you pay is trust. You just decide which pleasure is more important to you. I want to thank everybody for being here today. The work continues. The journey continues. And what I hope is that each one of you can participate in some way to find a person who may need help, who's afraid to come out of the shadows, who still thinks it takes courage. It is not about courage. It is about recognizing that there is a need, and there now are sources, resources. And I am so proud to be the Chief Medical Officer here at Riverside Community Care, with our leadership of Marcia Medley and Vic and Sachi, and everybody who is determined and absolutely committed to making substance use care part of our mission. It is a great honor to be here. So for all of you, remember, we really are celebrating today. We're celebrating that we can do this together. Riverside Community Care and you. Let's do this. Thank you again. And for all of you who participated, my gratitude, and for all those names that we've seen in the chat, my greatest sadness. But also remember, you are not alone. We will do this together. Thank you, everybody. We can just stay on and be silent for a moment.